Welcome back to the Arcane Forge. My name's Josh, and today I wanted to take you back to the Commission Corner, a series where I talk about one of the commissions that I've picked up recently, and I talk about my process of drawing it and about the character as well. And today's a bit of a special one because this commission belongs to Miles, one of my most active viewers in the comments, but also this was commissioned for his birthday. It's a gift, which I thought was a really cool idea. So, seeing as Miles' birthday is on Monday, unfortunately, I'll have a Monster Monday coming out on that day. I thought today, being Friday, I could celebrate Miles' birthday a little bit early with a commission corner about his character. So happy birthday, Miles, in advance. Just a quick aside, I mentioned in my previous Commission Corner video that I'll be changing how commissions work, and that I'll be moving it to my website rather than from Patreon. Well, I've actually managed to do that. So if you go to my website, if you're interested in picking up a commission of your own character or what have you, the front page will tell you whether or not I have spots available, but don't worry, you can obviously check the website as frequently as you like. I'll update that first, but in my videos I will also mention whether or not commissions are open or closed. At the moment I have a lot to be working on with, so I can't take any more commissions at the moment, but again, I'll let you know. And there's the commission tab at the top, which takes you through how to order a commission from me, what they all cost, what sort of things you can expect, what the different options are, and what the process is like going through and getting a commission. So if you're interested, the link to my website is down below in the description, and make sure to keep an eye on it to see whether or not commissions are open or closed. Anyway, back to the video. So Miles' character is called Carric Juno. He's a half-elf ranger, and as I go through the sketch stage here, you'll notice that he's quite slim. I wanted to capture that kind of half-elvenness, and in fact Miles mentioned that he should have the body more of a fencer than a barbarian, if that makes sense. So I wanted to make sure to capture that kind of liveness, that athleticness, rather than him being a sword-wielding Conan the Barbarian style beast. Now, interestingly, he mentioned that Carric was sort of ashamed of his elven roots, which I always find kind of interesting in half-elves, how they'll take it. He said that he doesn't really do much to hide it either. He doesn't take too much care in his appearance, so he has quite shaggy hair and often wears a hood which might disguise the points on his ears, but otherwise not super fussed. And he's not fussed about his appearance that you'll see as I go through. Miles mentioned that his clothes should be a kind of Frankenstein's monster style, stitched together pieces of various different bits of cloth and leather and so on and so forth, different plates from different adventures and so on, just to make things work. He cares more about things working than about them being fancy and opulent. So I actually had a lot of fun making this character because I always find it interesting to show the life of an adventurer through what they're wearing. And I like to show various different influences. Obviously it's really fun as well when you have a character that's like, you know, I am an elf, I'm wearing only elven clothes, it's all going to be very fancy, but when you're an adventurer by trade, it's quite interesting to have, you know, lots of different bits of gear inspired by different cultures and different dungeons that you might have been through to find certain things. For example, the bow there, I'm trying to make it seem a little bit kind of Greek looking, whereas the sword I tried to make, at least the hilt of the sword, sorry, the scabbard, I tried to make seem a little bit Norse looking. You know, it's a runed blade, he mentioned, which is his main weapon. He uses the bow more as a kind of on the off chance weapon when it's useful. So I wanted to make the sword and the bow look slightly different, like they came from different origins, and he maybe picked one up as he was going along because it was useful. He also has a pet mountain lion, specifically a North American cougar, my bad, called Juno, who he raised from a kitten, and I thought that was very important to get in the image there, their relationship, sort of savage beast, very much tamed by this guy. And the way that Miles described their relationship seemed almost kind of comical. They seem so close. As for this kind of ferocious mountain cat to otherwise be basically like a kitten to him, it melts around him. So I thought that was really good to capture with this kind of like goofy, charmed, very cheerful face of this cougar, basically just rubbing on the side of his leg, on his hand, as a pet house cat might. Absolutely obsessed with this character. Now, Miles gave me a lot of options here when it came to the environment. He said, you know, I could do an action scene, or, you know, Carric is obviously a ranger, but his specialism is being in a forest environment. And I thought it might be quite nice to do kind of forests and mountains if you know, something that suits the relationship between the ranger and his pet. So I kept some nice mountains in the background that were very forested, just to kind of show that the image just isn't totally about Carric, but they're both characters. In the end, Miles really liked that as well. And we get to play around with some colours later on. At the moment now, I'm going through and adding some texture, and I'm really pleased with the textures in this one, actually. I thought they were nicely broken up, again, because I was able to put different influences in different pieces of gear. For example, his right hand has this kind of very human-looking leather glove, and then has a kind of a bow guard, a string guard on his left hand that I thought might look a little bit elven. The Wood Elves are known for their archery after all. I thought that seemed pretty good. Another little interesting aside, I have been trained in archery and I absolutely love doing it. And I remember the guys who I trained with, it was years and years ago. I wouldn't honestly say that I'm particularly brilliant at it now, but I do still have a bow and I would like to practice at some point, but I'm super lazy and I always forget to go and try it out. Either way, the guys who trained me also trained the British Olympic team, and they were telling me that it massively frustrated them when they watched fantasy movies, because the string guards on the left hand of most of the people that they were watching always seemed to have they were bound on the inside, if that makes sense. They would have the wrappings, how you would undo, how you tie it and undo it on the inside, which would catch the string and throw off a shot if it ever did actually hit the inside of an arm. But it's always done for stylistic choice. It kind of looks cooler to have the design, whatever pattern is on a string guard, on the outside of the arm. And it used to amuse me so much that this bothered them that I decided to put it the fashionable way on Carric, just to annoy those old teachers. But I think it looks fantastic, and as well, we're in a fantasy world. I mean, if we're going to forgive the fact that there's orcs and goblins and demons and dragons, I think we can forgive some slight accuracy when it comes to how an archer might wear a guard on their arm. Now, the colour palette here is not one that I would usually choose. Miles mentioned that the cape, the cloak on his back, had to be a kind of dark, ruddy, kind of green, needed to be dirty to fit in with this kind of Frankenstein's monster thing, which seemed really cool. But I don't know a huge number of colour palettes that work with kind of dark greens. So I was thrown into a kind of world of browns and peach colours, some beige here and there. And you know what? It worked out really well. I just really stuck to the colour palette here and tried to keep it as mismatch as possible. So the clothes were very mismatch, and I decided to just start playing around with it, throwing it around, seeing where certain bits would work, and trying desperately to make each limb and each side, if you were to put a mirror right down the middle, I tried to make each side of them look quite different. So where there was a patch of brown on one side, for example, I would leave that out on the other side, just to kind of give this kind of mismatch. He's an adventurer, he cares more about the way things work than the way he looks, kind of deal. And I really loved it, actually. I think that worked wonderfully well. Interestingly, you'll see like the stones in the right-hand corner at the end of his blade and at the top of the bow there. Miles mentioned that there should be a chunk of bismuth at the end of this runed blade, and that wasn't actually specified to be on the bow as well. Maybe during the sketch stage you might have seen me trying a few different things. I always tend to lean towards putting like an eagle's head or something like that at the top of a bow, because it fits and it looks nice. But that does scream elven to me. That seems like a very intentioned bow, and Carric seemed like the kind of person who didn't really care about what his bow looked like. So I thought what would be good is to tie the bow and the sword together by having the same kind of chunk of bismuth on the ends there, and I really liked it, actually. Initially went for a kind of cat design as well at the top of the bow, to kind of tie in his relationship with Juno, but that seemed too intentioned for Carric. You know, he's very rough and ready. He's an explorer at the end of the day. The one thing I did have quite a lot of trouble with, well, two things really, is the background here. I'm putting a lot of greens and a nice blue sky there. I'm trying to pattern it as well because I was like, you know, does this look too childlike? Is it too friendly and too happy? You know, we have the nice relationship between him and his cougar, but is everything turning up too cheerful for a gritty adventure? So I start darkening it here and there. I think in the end I actually take the colours out of the mountains, and I quite like the browns that we end up with. It doesn't look like a forest, but it does seem to fit the colour palette really well. But the other thing I struggled with was his hair. Miles said that he should have reddish brown, blonde mix, sort of messy hair, which are some things that I struggled with, reddy brown and blonde. I was like, does he have frosted tips? Or is this kind of like the elven part is blonde and his human part is reddy brown? How do I cover this? And in the end, I kind of went frosted tips with it, but I muted it a little bit when I was altering the colours. And you know what? I was pleased with it in the end. So this was Carric, the half-elf ranger, and this was Miles's birthday commission. So again, happy birthday, Miles. I'm so glad that I was able to capture your character in a way that you were happy with. I don't know what it is about the characters that you make in school, but they always really stick with you, don't they? And I hope Carric does stick with you as well, Miles. I think that's a really cool character and very diverse. Miles actually wrote me a really huge list of detailed parts of Carric's personality. And he was quite apologetic about how much that he wrote, but honestly it was great to capture the absolute love and adoration that Miles has for his character, and it wasn't too much information. It was just great to get to know what specifically he loved about Carric. I love it when people commission me to draw their characters and they are absolutely in love with the design and the story and everything else to do with their character. It's so easy to literally pick up that passion and turn it into your own drive for doing the commission. This commission took 7 hours, for example, and I blasted through that in one. I had no idea of the time passing. I was just too enraptured in this because Miles was so excited about it as well. So thank you very much for joining me in the commission corner. If you enjoyed this video and you like seeing my drawings, please make sure to leave a little thumbs up, a little like down below, maybe favourite this video as well, and share it with someone who you think might enjoy seeing the process of my illustrations, or might want a commission for themselves. If you or someone you know would like a commission, again, just make sure to check out my website. If you want to get more out of the channel, please make sure to subscribe. I make 2 videos every week, so I'll be back on Monday with some more. Your support massively helps this channel to grow, so thank you very much for all of your help. If you want to help me improve the quality of videos that I can make and the quality of commissions as well, by leaving a financial donation to support the channel, please make sure to check out my Patreon page, where backers get rewards like prints of my illustrations. We also get a little chat group where we can talk much more informally, and they get a few exclusive videos, including one that I'm gonna share with you guys fairly soon. There's a little choose your own adventure that we're running month after month, essentially DMing for the whole of Patreon. If you like the sound of that, head over to Patreon and support if you would like to, and otherwise you can find me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook if you want to get a little bit more out of the Arcane Forge. Otherwise guys, it's been lovely having you here, and hopefully I'll see you again on Monday for a Monster Monday. Until then, have a lovely day, and I'll see you later.